Hi, and welcome to Dollars and Making Sense, a weekly show about finance, money, and investing. I'm your host, Ray Treverson from OTG Capital. We broadcast locally on Radio Northern Beaches and around Australia on the Community Radio Network. Now, I'm really pleased to invite to the microphone a bit of a strange guest this time around. She's not strange. It's just that it's my first time that I'm actually interviewing another one of our radio hosts from Radio Northern Beaches. Now, Maria and you and I met earlier this year, didn't we, at a radio skills workshop?
That's correct, Ray, in February when I was doing the radio workshop at Radio Northern Beaches.
We met, like normal things, we both talk like crazy and, don't know when to be quiet. So we're obviously perfect for radio. And as you can see, I've got a face for radio. Maria, not quite so. She certainly will do far better on YouTube than I will. So there we go. So look, one of the things that I've asked Maria to come on board is that we're going to talk a little bit about her show as well. And Maria, maybe kick over to you. Explain a little bit about your show, and what we're going to talk about today will flow out of that.
Okay. So, in February, I did the radio workshop at Radio Northern Beaches. You came and presented on that. And when I was devising what type of a show I was going to put on, I decided to use the wellness dimensions, which there's 10 wellness dimensions. And I thought that would give me a good guide on the content. The dimensions are physical, cultural, social, financial, which is what we're going to talk about today, sexual, occupational, and spiritual. I think and environmental. I think I've covered
environmental. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm easy. I'm reading off a list. I'm not memorizing. So I'm cheating.
So they're the dimensions that are guiding my content and trying to work out on who should I speak to about that subject. So I might interview you about the financial side. I might interview someone else that has specialised in women, helping women with their financial needs and so forth. I might speak to someone regarding social events and so forth. So I've called my name, the show's name is Miscellanea Variety Show, and Miscellanea being that it's my tagline, it's a show about everything and nothing all at once, which means that it's really diverse. So it's not one topic like yours where you talk about finance and money and investing. Mine is all over the shop, but it's all, the anchor of the show is the 10 dimensions. So, and then I also play music. It's an hour-long show, and I play a variety of music all over genres. I even like country and western, but I do focus. I know, look at your face, but I do like to focus on Australian music, especially emerging Australian artists, because I feel sorry that anyone that's trying to break the music scene, whether it's Australian or international, we really don't have a platform to showcase Australian music. Back in the day, as you remember, if anyone's old enough to remember, bands used to go to all the pubs and showcase what they do and do all that tour, and then break the scene with records, with a record deal and so forth. We sort of don't have that anymore, or it's reduced. A lot of pubs don't, we don't have that live music scene anymore. We do, but it's not as much as it used to be. So my thing is to showcase Australian music. So there's a platform that the Community Broadcasting Association puts forward, which is called the AMRAP, Australian Music Radio. I can't remember what the acronym is, AMRAP. Anyway, and I regularly look at that. I get emails from budding artists telling me that they've released a new song. I listen to it, and if it meets the brand of my show, which is upbeat, happy music, then I put it on.
Well, that's great. Look, one of the interesting facts, I guess, that, I'm an very frustrated muso, and I used to play in a covers band, but I guess I don't play music because my taste is a little bit too off kilter, and so it doesn't certainly flavour a lot of people. And a lot of the people that I hang around in finance and around my trustees and the like, when they see me heading off to a show, they'll go, "What are you going?" And I just shrug my shoulders, say, "Don't worry about it. You won't know who they are." And so it's that kind of world. But look, I think we are kind of blessed that the internet is with us. Look, I totally agree with you that the live venue scene here locally in Sydney and certainly around in many other regional and capital cities is not as great as it used to be, and that's a fair call. But you've got artists like Rufus Du Sol and this latest kid that's just come out, who's launched on YouTube, and the internet is now opening up a huge amount of audiences to people that would otherwise not have access. And I guess the other big one that we've got these days is Triple J Unearthed. And listeners may not be aware that if you're not a Triple J listener, but 100,000 songs are uploaded to Triple J Unearthed every year, which is enormous. And my own wife was working at Barrenjoey High School a couple of years ago when Unearthed High was in play, and the Ryans, which was the local band from Barrenjoey High School, actually won that contest. And we're a big fan of their band. And again, I think it's a wonderful outlet that, again, it depends on your music taste, whether you necessarily come across this music or not. I mean, a lot of people would not know who Rufus Du Sol is, but in America and Europe, they're huge. They're absolutely enormous electronica band. But again, it depends on what you come across. Country and Western music, no, never going to brace my radio show ever. Other than if it's out of the Blues Brothers, where we have both sides, country and Western.
The thing is, Ray, I appreciate all types of music.
I don't.
I just appreciate everything, and I judge, and I might not listen to country all the time, but if it sounds good and it's got my toes tapping, no matter what music genre it belongs to, I'm all for it.
So look, let's dive into a little bit of these 10 wellness dimensions, because I find them fascinating. I guess it's a similar theme that people are looking for balance in their life. And one of my previous interviewees, a guy called Nick Friedman, who talks about retiring on purpose. And many people focus on finance when they're talking about retirement. And his thing is, look, Ray, he has 5 other bounds or themes around retiring, not just finance. So when we're looking physical, cultural, etc. So under financial, because I read your document, so gain knowledge to make smart financial decisions and achieve financial stability, acknowledging everyone's financial needs are unique. Certainly that last part I think is really important, because part of our show here on Dollars and Making Sense is education, education, education. And not everybody is the same. And so one of the things that I've got to do as a licensed practitioner, because I have my own financial services license and I'm registered with ASIC. So I'm actually legal when I make these comments, but I'm also very careful because everybody is different. And so, in the middle of my show, we have a disclaimer. So if you're not sure, or, we always say, please go and see a registered financial advisor. By the way, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a fund manager. So one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show was that, ladies and gents, Maria and I are working collaboratively. I'm sort of helping her out to get her show up and running, and I'm going to help with the tech and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's always nice to have somebody sort of looking in and saying, is this okay or you hope to go national as well one day, don't you?
I do. I'm currently putting together my application for my show to be distributed nationally, because I think there's a lot of value in it. What my show is all about can add value to regional and rural areas, community radio shows that may not have enough presenters to put a show together like this.
Well, I'm certainly very happy to help, because it's a little bit of a slow process, and the people at CBAA and CRN will probably kick my rear end for saying this, but it wasn't the fastest of processes, but so be it.
They're all volunteers, right? We've got to remember that.
Well, not entirely, but look, it's run on the smell of an oily rag, and hats off. Look, it's the same with our own community radio station at Radio and Beaches. I've been in volunteer organizations a long time, and I'm never critical. If you're giving up of your own time, good for you. Hats off and well done. So one of the things that, when we're looking at the financial wellness thematic, one of the things that I'm always very conscious of is making sure we have salespeople and spivs coming on. And so I'm always saying to people, education, education, education. Now, as an outside practitioner, Maria, what are the alarm bells that you start hearing that start ringing in your mind? The difference between a sales pitch and, say, education. What are the kind of things that all of us start getting concerned about?
For full disclosure, I was in the financial industry for 38 years.
You've come away from the dark side.
I've come away from the dark side, yes. So I've worked in the retail banking arm and also the superannuation life insurance arm as well. So I understand, the background of that. So when it comes to education versus what you said about the sales pitch, completely different. Couldn't be as far apart, as you want. But education is all about knowing what your options are, and then working out, what are my options if I'm going to retire? What are my options if I'm going to buy a house? What are my options, if I want to travel? And seeing, understanding what are your needs, first of all. What do I need in this scenario? And then understanding, what's the available options that are out there. Who's offering what in terms of, the products or services that lenders or other financial institutions can give you. And then really basically working out, well, this, it's like buying a house. When you go inside a house, what suits you in the layout and the way it functions may not suit someone else. So it's basically looking at, this product is going to suit me, or that product is not going to suit me. You talk to your family and friends because, understanding what other people have. And so, when I talk to my friends, and they might say, oh, I've got this great savings account or a term deposit or whatever, and it, really works for me. So I listen to that with an open mind, and then say, oh, yeah, that sounds great for you, but, that's not going to work for me for whatever reason. So it's really basically understanding those options, and then once you've narrowed it down to one or two options that might work for you in that scenario and your needs, then you might want to go and speak to a salesperson to really understand what are the terms, conditions, and all the other detail on how the product, what the features are and so forth. So, understanding your needs is number one. Finding out your options, narrowing it down, and then talking to a salesperson. I would do it in that order.
Fair enough. So look, we're just about halfway through the show today. You're listening to Dollars and Making Sense, a weekly show about finance, money, and investing. We're going for a short break, and we'll be back in just a moment. Hi, and thank you for listening to Dollars and Making Sense, a weekly radio program about finance, money, and investing on Radio Northern Beaches and nationally on the Community Radio Network around Australia. The views, comments, and opinions aired during our program should not be construed or viewed as financial advice. Any commentary is general advice only and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. You should consider whether the advice is suitable for you and your personal circumstances. If in doubt, you should contact an authorised licensed financial planner. We welcome questions and feedback, and you can get in touch with us via our blog, social media channels, or email. Please search for Dollars and Making Sense in your favourite podcast platform, or check out our blog at otgcapital.com.au/blog. Hi, and welcome back to Dollars and Making Sense, a weekly show about finance, money, and investing. I'm really pleased to have at the microphone today Maria Nati, and she is one of my fellow radio announcers at Radio Northern Beaches, and she has recently launched a show called, wait for it, what is it again, Maria?
Miscellanea Variety Show.
Miscellanea Variety Show. a show about everything and a show about nothing all at once, right? So
Correct.
very Seinfeld-esque, isn't it? So look, one of the things that I'm really interested in when people have themes of this nature, I've always been a very goals-oriented kind of guy, and ex-army, and people pushing you when you're in the sales world, etc. And so the things that I look at, these wellness thematics, do people look at them short term or medium or longer term? What's your view on that?
The wellness dimensions are something that applies to everybody because they're all the aspects within our lives that we need balance in. So, physical, your body, your health of your body applies to everybody, right? Your social network, a sense of belonging, a connection with other people applies to everybody. Environmental, when I talk about environmental, it's not just about the world in which we live in. It's also about our environment in our bedrooms, our homes, our work environment, our home environment. So let's work from our bedrooms and work outwards, and because they're the things that we can control. So, do we live in a neat and tidy home? Because that obviously gives us a certain energy. And then looking outwards all the way to, the suburb that we live in, if we live next to the beach or next to nature and so forth. Occupational, are we happy with the type of work that we do? If we don't get that sense of purpose or achievement, that's going to make us feel, negative and depressed and so forth. So making sure that what we do for a living, or not living, if you're just, if you're retired or you're a stay-at-home mum, whatever you're doing in life, that it's a passion for you and that you enjoy it. What are the other ones? The financial, making sure that we look after our finances and know what to do, so we feel a sense of security, because that's what finance well-being is all about, feeling secure, and that we've got all our finances under control, because that gives us a sense of well-being that, I don't have to worry about money, because, you're doing everything that you can to manage. And it doesn't mean about being rich or poor. It's whatever money that you have, that you're managing it well.
I guess these are kind of habits. And when I looked at the 10 wellness themes that you've got, I look at there's a similarity, I guess, in ways. One of the books that I think has had a large impact on me throughout my life is Steve Covey's 7 Habits of Successful People. And I guess those are the kind of themes that, because I've lived in a sales-oriented environment, and I guess because it's very target-driven, I guess those 10 dimensions, again, reflect similar themes, I guess, in your life. And like you say, they need to be habits, but you need to be nurturing them and looking after them. Now, I'm curious. I wanted to share with you, there's something I keep saying to my kids, and my kids are, 30, 28 and 25 this year. And so they've had a bit of a tough time through COVID. But again, I think the resilience that, kids and young adults can build through adversity, I think is always a good thing. To me, there's always a positive in that. And I always like to reflect, and I actually have these words sitting up on my desk. So if I'm ever feeling down, and again, these themes are similar kind of things. They help, as you say, with a bit of passion and drive. But they're 10 2-letter words that I picked up from a very famous Australian footballer, not up here in the northern states, but down in the southern states, Ron Barassi. Used to be a coach and a player with Carlton. Mm-hmm. And he's got this 10 2-letter word saying that if it is to be, it is up to me. And so I have them sitting up there because I run my own business. And one thing's for absolutely sure, nothing in OTG Capital happens unless I do it. And so I think you said before, and I think it's a really key thing, do things with passion, live your life with passion. Don't just be a passenger. And I think these wellness themes are really, really interesting. So I guess one of the things that I've been interviewing a lot of women on my show in recent years, Philippa Hunt is a long time regular on my show, and she runs a website called Wise Girls Money. Now, you may not be aware, are in one of the most dangerous demographics for financial security. An older woman usually will be facing a very uncertain time when it comes to finances. And so a lot of my shows have been around that. Now, I guess not homing in on you specifically, but do you find that in your travels you are finding that yourself, that there are a lot of women in and around your age group now that are not doing well?
Yes, particularly if a woman is still, and I say still, married at 50 and above 50, she has the security of another person. Now, whether a husband or another wife, doesn't matter. You've got the security. There's two of you to face the world, so to speak. So you can put your money together and be outwardly as a team. So you've got something to fall back on. But what I'm seeing the most, what you're referring to, is single women or divorced women who, especially back in the day where women worked from home and they weren't earning any money, or maybe that part-time work, so they didn't create that nest egg in superannuation. And now that they've come to this part of their life and they don't have that superannuation to fall back on, and they don't have a partner to fall back on. And that's the demographic that is struggling the most. So my recommendation is, no matter what, especially, for your children, anyone that is in their 20s, that's where financial management begins, right? So learning about, and this is something that I've been advocating about, let's get our teenagers, year 11 and year 12, learning about day-to-day money management of budgeting and so forth, because that's where it begins. Now, for the women that are above 50 now and they find themselves in that predicament, it's very hard for them to manage their life and what they do. So what I'm finding is a lot of women continue to work well past the pension age because basically they don't have an option.
It's a fascinating thing that you talk about, the willingness to work, or the requirement to. And I guess I'm 64 years old now myself, and I guess the idea that I would retire in 3 years' time, I'm sitting around looking around going, I don't think so. I've still got a lot left in me, but not everyone feels the same way. And I'm in a unique situation. I'm not swinging a pickaxe like a labourer, for example. And so I think the special circumstance you rightly suggest, we've got a lot of friends that have been through some amicable divorces, some not so. And so everybody's different. But I think women face that unique challenge that, and Philippa talks about that.
If I can add, I, through various women's Facebook groups that I belong to, I see a lot of women posting anonymously, obviously, and it's at least one post a week. It's quite alarming, to be honest, that women are basically saying, oh, I need to leave my relationship. I've got young children, or maybe, under 10-year-old children. I don't have my own money. All our money is pooled together. So, I can't leave. They're in situations where they have to leave secretly. They've got to escape, basically, and they don't have any money of their own. So, they're finding it very hard to leave those relationships and have their own financial independence. So that's another thing that I would recommend is, I know back in my day, probably Ray, in your age group, our demographic, I remember, and I got married very young. We basically, as soon as we got married, opened up joint accounts, and we've had joint accounts ever since. But I've been in a lucky situation, unlike these women. So on reflection, I've been thinking about, it's so important, especially for women, to have their own account and making sure that they have full autonomy with the money that's in that account. Not only, you don't have anyone critiquing your shopping, adventures, but also to have that financial security for yourself as an individual rather than as a partnership.
Yeah, I've got to say it's one of the very sad aspects that Philippa Hunt and I have talked on too many occasions, and we all unfortunately read with a lot of sadness the kind of weekly statistic of how many and far too many women that are dying in domestic violence situations, and financial abuse now is something that is becoming a clear focus of the current government, which I'm very pleased to see, because you're absolutely right. I mean, I've always, I guess, prided the fact that my wife and I have had joint accounts, but we've been married 35 years now, and there is a level of trust there that we don't need to be concerned. Not everybody is in that situation, and so if a woman in that dire situation came to me and said, I need to store money away for my escape money, I would be very supportive of any kind of government.
Not only
support.
escape, but to have that autonomy to
Well,
do whatever you want with that
exactly.
money.
But
So
I mean,
it's multifaceted.
Absolutely, it's multifaceted. So look, we're just about out of time. Today has been an intro, I guess. I'm hoping that we can be talking a little bit more often about financial wellness in your 10 spheres of wellness within Miscellanea. And I guess, look, I wish you the best of good luck in your radio career. I hope you do go national. We're up to, I think, 9 stations now, including Radio Northern Beaches, that we are being listened to. As
Congratulations,
well as
Ray. That's why I've come to you for mentorship.
Well, always happy to help. Always happy to help. Maria, thank you very kindly for being on Dollars and Making Sense.
Thank you.